When I briefly worked in an art museum in the marketing department, I noticed that the more notoriety an artwork had, the more barriers and protective gears there were between the audience and the artwork. And seeing that made me realize, wow, the greater value something has, the more difficult it is to quote, quote, access it in the way of accessing the core of it. So how does this connect with beauty? Well, we live in a society where, yes, we have these lovely devices where we can be up to date on what everyone thinks is cool. This was a time when I started gaining weight, getting a lot of acne, and obviously being a human being with eyeballs, I see that, and I was just really struggling. It was to the point where I couldn't look in the mirror without crying. And I know that sounds kind of intense, but it was intense in my mind. I was just like comparing myself with my peers and being in dance at that time and also being in show choir. It was just all about performing and like what you look like. Man, the Lord was so kind to me. In that time, that charismatic camp that I mentioned in episode 1, someone at that camp was praying for me and they were just calling me beautiful over and over again. And I thought that they must be going around praying this for everyone. And then another leader came up to me and started praying for me. Mind you, I don't know these leaders because this is a camp in Kentucky. I'm living in Ohio at the time. Once again, she starts praying the same thing over me. These people don't know that this is what I'm struggling with. And during that same time, I went to a prophetic room. I went in being super skeptical. I was like, is this like fortune telling, but the Jesus version? And so I went in. And for those of you who don't know, prophecy, from my understanding, are just words to encourage the church body, speaking the identity that the Lord has already put over you. These people, once again, that I don't know, started praying over me. And one of the people prayed over me and said, right now, you're a caterpillar. And I'm like, hold up, did she just call me a caterpillar? But she said, right now, you're a caterpillar. Then you will become a cocoon. Once you really step into the identity that Jesus has given you, you'll be flying around like a butterfly, showcasing the beauty of the Lord. And for me, when I realized that my value is the fact that God died for me, I realized, wow, that is my value. That is what someone is willing to pay for me. Therefore, the way that someone accesses speaking into my identity should be that much harder because my value is that great. Since then, I went to a botanical garden with my mom and I noticed that each flower has to live in a very specific environment and it has a very specific timing and rhythm and look to it for it to flourish the way it's intended to. And so for me, I realized, wow, I'm comparing myself with all these different people, but I am in a way a flower that is different from all these different people, and therefore I am supposed to grow in a different environment and have a different look to serve a different purpose, and therefore my beauty is then focused or based on something that is constant and steady, which is the one who created me, rather than media, which flips every day. Like one day it tells you that you want a big butt and the other day it says you want to be a 00. Does that make sense? For the girl and the guy that is listening to this right now and you're struggling with the way that you look, it is normal to go through that right now because you have eyes and we are taught to compare. But what is extraordinary is to put your focus on beauty on something that is constant and proven again and again to be the author of all beauty, which is our God, our mighty God. Okay, one last example. I had a friend in college who, to be quite honest, her freshman year, I mean, for lack of better words, she was quite plain Jane, but something about her just drew guys into her. And I just became so curious. And it was because she was so kind. And then later on, met another person who her kindness, joy, and goofiness stemmed in loving the Lord. And therefore, all these guys were attracted to her. Not only guys, but also like little kids, friends, and adults, because it was the beauty of the Lord that shined through her that attracted people to her. When I look at women who are in their 70s and 80s, some of them truly radiate pure beauty. That's the beauty that never fades, that is stemmed in the one who created beauty. And so for me, my shift became, rather than from outer beauty, it was like, oh, this is the beauty that I want to seek. And that's not to degrade like putting on makeup and wearing fun outfits and caring about your hair and your hygiene. Genuinely love all those things. But the root of beauty is finding that rest in the Lord. And there's a Bible verse that talks about what a beautiful woman is biblically, and John Piper has an amazing sermon on this. I will link it down below in the description box so that you can check it out. You today struggling with the idea of beauty, I hope you don't feel shame, rather being kind to yourself, questioning why is it that I feel less than, and what is the ruler that I'm using to measure my beauty. That was a little yapping for the day. Until next time, step out onto the water and be blessed.